All right, reading Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, Betty Edwards. Chapter 2, First Steps in Drawing, and it's in photograph of a drawing by Edgar Degas, and it is the string bass player. Degas. All right, drawing materials. Art supply stores can be rather baffling in their profusion of products, but fortunately the materials required for drawing are simple and limited in number. Essentially, you need paper and a pencil, but for purposes of effective instruction, I have added a few more items. Paper, pencils, number 2 ordinary, and number 4 drawing pencil, Faber-Castell, Prismacolor, Turquoise, or other brands. Marking pens, Sharpie, a second marker, Fine Point Permanent, graphite, pencil sharpener, erasers, masking tape, clips, drawing board, picture plane. This too can be improvised using an 8x10 piece of glass. You'll need to tape the edges or an 8x10 piece of clear plastic, about 1/16 inch thick. Viewfinders. You will make these from black paper. Construction paper is a good thickness, or you could use thin black cardboard. You will find instructions for making viewfinders on page 14. It's basically 2 L's with paper clips, so you can change based on the size of canvas or paper that you're working on. A small mirror, about 5x7, that can be taped to a wall or any available wall mirror. Gathering these materials requires a bit of effort, but they will truly help you learn rapidly. We no longer attempt to teach our students without the help of viewfinders and the plastic picture plane, because these aids are so essential to your understanding of the basic nature of drawing. Once you have learned the basic components of drawing, however, you will no longer need these teaching aids. Pre-instruction drawings, a valuable record for later validation of your progress. Forgive me. Now let's get started. First, you need to make a record of your present level of drawing skills. This is important. You don't want to miss the pleasure of having a real memento of your starting point to compare with your later drawings. I'm fully aware of how anxiety-causing this is, but just do it. As the great Dutch artist Vincent van Gogh wrote in a letter to his brother Theodore, "You do not know how paralyzing it is. That staring of a blank canvas, which says to a painter, 'You don't know anything.'" Soon you will know something, I promise. Just gear yourself up and do the drawings. Later you will be very happy that you did. The pre-instruction drawings have proved invaluable in helping students see and recognize their own progress, because a kind of amnesia seems to set in as drawing skills improve. Students forget what their drawing was like before instruction. Moreover, the degree of criticism keeps pace with progress. Even after considerable improvement, students are sometimes critical of their drawing because it's not as good as Da Vinci could do. As one person put it, the pre-instruction drawings provide a realistic gauge of progress. After you have finished the drawings, put them carefully away to be looked at later on in light of your newly acquired skills. 3. Pre-instruction drawings. It usually takes students about an hour to do these 3 pre-instruction drawings, but take as long or as short a time as you wish. The first list of drawing titles, then a list of materials needed for these drawings, followed by instructions for each drawing. What you will draw: a person drawn from memory, a self-portrait, my hand. Materials you will use for the 3 drawings: paper to draw on, your number 2 writing pencil, your pencil sharpener, your masking tape, a small 5x7 mirror or any available wall mirror, your drawing board, about an hour of uninterrupted time. For each drawing, in turn, tape a stack of 3 or 4 sheets of bond paper to your drawing board. Stacking the sheets provides a padded surface to draw on, much better than the rather hard surface of the drawing board. Pre-instruction drawing number 1, a person drawn from memory. Call up in your mind's eye an image of a person, perhaps someone from the past or someone you know well. Or you may recall a drawing you did in the past or a photograph of a person well known to you. To the best of your abilities, do a drawing of the person. You may draw just the head, a half figure, or a full-length figure. When you have finished, title, sign, and date your drawing in the lower right-hand corner. Pre-instruction, drawing 2, self-portrait. Tape your small mirror to a wall and sit at arm's length, about 2 to 2.5 feet from the wall. Adjust the mirror so that you see your whole head within its edges. Lean your drawing board up against the wall, resting the bottom of the board on your lap. Have a 3-sheet stack of paper taped to your board. Look at the reflection of your head in the mirror and draw your self-portrait. When you have finished, title, sign, date your drawing. Pre-instruction drawing 3, my hand. Seat yourself at a table to draw. If you're right-handed, draw your left hand in whatever position you choose. If you're left-handed, of course, draw your right hand. Title, sign, and date. When you have finished the pre-instruction drawings, spread the 3 drawings out on a table and look at them closely. If I were there with you, I would be looking for small areas of the drawings that show that you were looking carefully, perhaps the way a collar turns or a beautifully observed curve of an eyebrow or ear. Once I encounter such signs of careful seeing, I know the person will learn to draw well. You, on the other hand, may find nothing admirable, and perhaps may dismiss the drawings as childish or amateurish. Please remind yourself that these are drawings made before instruction. On the other hand, you may be surprised and pleased with your drawings, or part of them, perhaps especially the drawing of your hand. The drawing from memory often elicits the most dismay. The reason for doing memory drawing. I'm sure that drawing a person from memory was very difficult for you, and rightfully so. Even a trained artist would find it difficult, because visual memory is never as rich, complicated, and clear as is actually seeing. Visual memory is necessarily simplified, generalized, and abbreviated, frustratingly so for most artists who often have a fairly limited repertoire of memorized images that they can call up in the mind's eye and draw. Then why do it? Well, you may ask. The reason is simply this. For a beginning student, drawing a person from memory brings forth a memorized set of symbols, practiced over and over during childhood. While doing the drawing from memory, can you recall that your hand seemed to have a mind of its own? You knew that you weren't making the image you wanted to, but you couldn't keep your hand from making those simplified shapes. Perhaps the nose shape, for example. This is caused by the so-called symbol system of early childhood drawing, memorized by countless repetitions. Now compare your self-portrait with your memory drawing. Do you see symbols repeated in both drawings? That is, are the eyes or the nose or mouth similar in shape or even identical? If so, this indicates that your symbol system was controlling your hand even when you were observing the actual shapes in your face in the mirror. You may also find a simplified repeat. This tyranny of the symbol system explains in large part why people untrained in drawing continue to produce childish drawings right into adulthood and even old age. What you will learn is how to set your symbol system aside and accurately draw what you see. This training in perceptual skills, how to see and draw what is actually out there, is the rock bottom ABCs of drawing. It is necessarily, or at least ideally, learned before progressing to imaginative drawing, painting, or sculpture. With this information in mind, you may want to make a few notes on the back of your drawings, indicating any repeated symbols, which parts were the most difficult, and which were successful. Then put the drawings away for safekeeping. Do not look at them again until you have completed my course and have learned to see and draw. Drawings before and after instruction. These examples show some of my students' pre-instruction and post-instruction self-portraits. All had attended one of our 5-day, 8-hour-a-day workshops. Students drew their images seen in a mirror, as you have just done with your pre-instruction drawing. Regard the drawings from the standpoint as a visible record of improvement in perception. The drawings show typical changes in drawing ability from the pre-instruction self-portrait to the self-portrait drawn on the 5th day. As you see, the change between each student's two drawings is significant enough that it almost seems as though two different persons have done the drawings. Learning to perceive is the basic skill that the students acquired, not drawing skill. In our workshops, we actually teach very few skills that could be called drawing skills, such as setting a tone ground, using an eraser as a drawing tool, cross-hatching, shading from light to dark, and so on. The really important teaching and learning is how to see differently. Our goal is that every student will make significant progress regardless of their initial skill level. If you look at the pre-instruction drawings on page 19 and 20, you will see that people came to the workshop with different levels of existing skills, as is the case with your pre-instruction drawings. These pre-existing skills have nothing to do with potential to draw well. What the pre-instruction drawings represent is the age at which the person last drew, often coinciding with the age at which the person gave up on trying to draw. Considering this way, the pre-instruction drawings on page 19 and 20 represent drawings age range from about 7 or 8-year-olds to late adolescents and occasionally even near adult drawing age. For example, Terry Woodward and Derek Cameron were initially drawing at about age level 7 or 8, while Marion Umba and Robin R's pre-instruction drawings represent about age 10 to 12 drawing level. That is, they were drawing the way most children draw at that age, and it may be that they quit drawing at that point. Several other students were drawing at a later adolescent age. Andreas and Douglas on page 19 at an even later adolescent age are Peter and so forth. As a teacher, I'm always interested in this aspect of the pre-instruction drawings, as it gives me a sense of each individual's history in terms of drawing. The goal of the lesson is to enable each student, regardless of their starting point, to reach full adult capability in drawing. And as you can observe in the post-instruction drawings, 5 days later, students do reach that level with remarkable gains and skills. We, along with our students, strive for 100% success in each of our workshops. Success is defined as the ability to effortlessly use all 5 of the basic perceptual skills of drawing: perceiving and drawing edges, spaces, relationships, lights and shadows, and the gestalt. In a self-portrait, the likeness. With this foundation, only practice is needed to continue progress to as high a level as desired. Again, it is quite like reading. Once you have the basic skill, further achievement just requires practice and perhaps extending one's vocabulary. For drawing, further progress might be expanded subject matter and other drawing mediums. Style, self-expression, and a nonverbal language of drawing. In this outstanding book, Master Drawings Close-Up, Julian Brooks defines style and drawing thusly. Style in drawing, the distinctive handwriting or artistic personality revealed by the myriad decisions made consciously and unconsciously by an artist. Preference of media, viewpoint, moment depicted, method of drawing, human features, etc., while creating a work. In our workshops, we do not teach how to express yourself in drawing. That is, we do not teach styles of drawing. Your style is your own style, and your expression in drawing is how you express yourself in drawing. If you look only casually at the Seattle students' drawings, they have a certain similarity because they are all self-portraits and they all using the same mediums under the same lighting conditions. But if you look more closely, you will see that each person has his or her own personal way of drawing, each a unique style. This is what I value the most. This, to me, is the true self-expression in drawing, and it is much more personal than some of the overwhelming expressionism sometimes encouraged in today's art classes. Style in drawing is similar to the development of an individual style in handwriting. And once a person moves beyond childhood or adolescent writing styles, an individual adult style emerges. If, for a moment, we could regard your handwriting as a form of drawing, which it is, we could say that you are already expressing yourself with a fundamental element of art, line. On a sheet of bond paper using number 2 pencil, write your signature as you usually sign your name. Next, regard your signature from the following point of view. You are looking at a drawing that is your original creation, so unique that it has legal status as being owned by you and no other person in the world. This drawing of your name is shaped, it is true, by the cultural influences of your life. But aren't the creations of every artist shaped by such influences? Every time you write your name, you have expressed yourself through the use of line. Just as Picasso's line and his signature is expressive of him. The line can be read because in writing your name, you have used nonverbal language of art. Let's try reading line. There are 5 signatures in the margin. All are the same name, Monica Jessup. What is the first Monica Jessup like? You would probably agree that this Monica Jessup is more likely to be extroverted than introverted, more likely to wear bright colors than muted ones, and at least superficially observed, likely to be outgoing, talkative, even dramatic. Let's look at the second signature in the margin. What would you expect that Monica Jessup to be like? Now regard the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. What does it say? Next, turn back to your own signature. Clustered, erratic, non-pretentious, legibility, have a firm grasp on uppercase, cursive. Next, turn back to your own signature and respond to the nonverbal message of the line. Then on the same page, write your name in 3 or more different styles of line, each time responding to the new image. The name formed by the drawings is made up of the same letter forming the same name. What then were you responding to? Alright, sorry about that. Turn back now to your usual normal signature. It expresses you, your individuality, and your creativity. Your signature is true to yourself. In this sense, you are already using the nonverbal language of art. You are using a basic element of art, line, in an expressive way, unique to yourself. In the chapters that follow, therefore, I don't dwell on what you can already do. Instead, the aim is to teach you how better to see what is out there, so that you can use your expressive individual style to draw your perceptions more clearly and accurately. Drawing as a mirror and metaphor for you. To illustrate how much personal individual style is embedded in drawings, look at the two drawings on page 24, drawn at the same time by two persons, myself and artist teacher Brian Baumsler. We sat on either side of our model, Heather Allen. We were demonstrating how to draw a profile portrait for a group of students, the same profile drawing you will learn to do in Chapter 9. We were using identical materials, the ones in your material list, and we both drew for the same length of time, about 35 to 40 minutes. You can see that the model is the same. That is, both drawings achieve a likeness of Heather Allen, but Brian's portrayal expresses his response to Heather in his more painterly style, meaning emphasis on shape, and my drawing expresses my more response in more linear style, emphasis on line. By looking at my portrait of Heather, the viewer catches sight of me, and Brian's drawing provided an insight into him. Thus, paradoxically, the more clearly you can perceive and, in your personal style, draw what you see in the external world, the more clearly the viewer can see you, and the more you can know about yourself. Drawing becomes a metaphor for the artist. Because the exercises in this book focus on expanding your perceptual powers, not on techniques of drawing your individual style, your unique expressive way of drawing will emerge intact. This is true even though the exercises concentrate on realistic drawings, which tend to look alike in a large sense. But a closer look at realistic art reveals subtle differences in the line style, emphasis, and intent. In this age of massive self-expression in the arts, this more subtle communication often goes unnoticed and unappreciated. As your skills increase, you will see the unique style become firm and recognizable. Guard it, nurture it, and cherish it, for your style expresses you. As with the Zen master archer, the target is yourself. On the other page, it's a leaf, and there's a bold line, so it's a really strong outline. There's a broken line, so it's kind of sketchy and kind of sets the tone. And then there's a pure line, which is essentially just putting a line for absolutely what needs to be there. Chapter 3, your brain, the right and left of it. And it's an Edgar Degas self-portrait, 1855, red chalk on laid paper. Despite centuries of study and thought and the accelerating rate of knowledge in recent years, the human brain still engenders awe and wonder at its marvelous capabilities, not the least of which is the fact that our plastic brains can grow new brain cells and can form new neural pathways. Scientists have targeted visual perception, in particular with highly precise studies, yet vast mysteries still prevail. We simply take for granted many of the brain's capabilities because they are out of our conscious awareness. Even the most ordinary activities are awe-inspiring, as Frederick Crick, co-discoverer of the structure of DNA, so eloquently states. One of the most amazing capabilities of our human brain is the ability to record our perceptions and drawings. Since I propose that learning how to draw is greatly facilitated by some basic understanding of the role of brain function in drawing, this is a good place for a brief review before we start on the exercises. The double brain. Seen from above, the human brain resembles the halves of a walnut, two similar appearing convoluted round brain halves, separated by a longitudinal fissure and mainly connected by the corpus callosum, a thick band of nerve fibers. Most people are aware that the left hemisphere controls the right side of the body, and the right hemisphere the left side. Due to this crossing over of the nerve pathways, the right hand is controlled by the left hemisphere, the left hand by the right brain, as shown in Figure 3.2. As a result of extraordinary work by neuroscientists over the past 6 years, we now know that despite our normal feelings that we are one person, a single being, our mental functions are divided between the two cerebral hemispheres. While the hemispheres are visually similar, each has its own way of knowing, its own way of perceiving external reality. Information passes from one side to the other by means of the corpus callosum, thus preserving our sense of oneself. But scientists now recognize that the corpus callosum can also inhibit such passage. It appears that each hemisphere may have a way of keeping knowledge from the other. Therefore, it may be true, as the old saying goes, that at times the right hand truly does not know what the left is doing. From an evolutionary standpoint, the why of this asymmetrical design is still largely under study. Scientists once thought that only human brains had separate and different functions located, lateralized, in each hemisphere. Recent studies of birds, fish, and primates, however, suggest that asymmetrical brains are common in many vertebrates, and the animal studies indicate that the lateralized brains are more efficient, which may help explain the asymmetrical design. The two human hemispheres can work together in a number of ways. They can cooperate, with each half contributing its special capabilities. At other times, one hemisphere can function more or less as the leading hemisphere and the other following. And research also shows that the hemispheres can conflict, one half attempting to do what the other half knows it can do better. For the past 200 years or so, scientists have known that language and language-related capabilities are mainly located in the left hemisphere of the majority of individuals. For approximately 98% of the right-handers and about 2/3 of left-handers. This knowledge has largely derived from observations of the effects of brain injuries. It was apparent, for example, that an injury to the left side of the brain was more likely to cause a loss of speech capability than an injury of equal severity to the right side. Because speech and language are such vitally important human capabilities, 19th century scientists named the left hemisphere the dominant or major hemisphere, and named the right brain the subordinate or minor hemisphere. Reflecting these labels, the general view which prevailed until fairly recently was that the right half of the brain was less advanced. Less evolved than the left half. A mute twin with lower level capabilities directed and carried along by the verbal left hemisphere. Among some scientists, the bias against the right hemisphere went even deeper. They considered the right brain to be more on the level of animals and not capable of high human level cognition, a sort of stupid brain half. Today, that biased view has changed largely due to groundbreaking and brilliant Nobel Prize-winning research. The 1950s animal studies and 1960s human split brain studies by Roger W. Sperry and his students Ronald and quite a few others at the Cauliflower, California Institute of Technology. Neuroscientists, somewhat reluctantly at first, came to recognize that both hemispheres are involved in high human level cognition, with each half of the brain specialized for different modes of thinking, both highly complex. But what you might well ask, does this have to do with learning how to draw? Research on brain hemisphere aspects of visual perception indicates that drawing a complex, realistic image of a perceived form is mainly a function of the right hemisphere of the brain, As I have mentioned, to avoid the so-called location controversy, I have termed right brain functions R mode and left brain functions L mode, no matter where they located in the individual brain. Learning to draw well may depend on whether you can find a way to access the minor or subdominant R mode. Yes, in 2012, the right brain is still termed the lesser of the two old biases die hard. All right, I think that's a good place to stop, and we will pick up on the next episode. All right, thanks for bearing with me. It's getting late, so I have to keep my voice down. All right, see you next time.